Coaches, welcome back to another episode of the New Jersey High School Strength Coaches Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Evnish. I'm with my boy, Paul Collodi. Mike Srock is already trying to enter the room. He broke protocol, and in New Jersey, we do not break protocol, but we love this guy. We love him, Paul, so we might let him just hop on early. Okay, this is episode 6 or 7. I'm not even sure. We're powered by the NHS-SCA, National High School Strength Coaches Association. If you're not a member, go to nhssca.us. And Paul, I was in there this week looking at professional development videos, our resources section, just brushing up on how the coaches are teaching the power clean. They're different ways. Yep. Everybody's kind of different. And you know what's the difference is I could go in there, get a couple of high quality pieces of information, or I could go to YouTube and get 5 gazillion videos on the power clean. Then my brain explodes. You could overthink stuff, right?
Yep. No.
So
I get caught up in that troll sometimes and looking around, and like you said, it's a one-stop shop, and 9.9 times out of 10, it's all on science. It's all on what they've learned, not only from mentors, but from reading journals and everything else on what's the most effective. So yeah, that's my go-to.
I love our family. And then, you're on YouTube, then you're looking at Cadillacs. You're like, what the heck? What am I doing here? All right. So listen, the legend is on, Mike Srock. We cannot keep him waiting.
All right.
It's like Jimmy Hoffa showing up.
That's right.
And all these mob jokes except Jersey people. They've got no clue what we're talking about. Forget about it. So
we can't let them wait.
We're going to let Mike in. I'm going to let you kick off questions. I don't know if you have questions prepared. I'm just going to let it. Of course you do. You're a pro. You are a pro. I'm still an amateur. I'm just going to let it happen. Here we go. The legend Mike Srock is coming on. Here we go. Okay, Mike. Yes.
Hey, Coach, how are we doing? Good to see you.
Oh, Mike, I'm with my friend Paul. You remember Paul?
Hey, Coach.
Paul, how you doing?
How are you?
Man.
Doing good.
Look at that smile. Look at this. We said Coach McKenna was the most handsome, but he's in second place now.
Yep, no doubt.
Oh, man, Coach Srock, you're a legend. It's so awesome to have you on this podcast. So this podcast, Coach, Paul was the state director. I'm now the state director, and I wanted to try a different way of reaching people. We figured coaches are so busy. We wanted to reach them so they would listen to the podcast on the way to work or on the way home from work. So it's been really good. This is, I think, our 6th or 7th episode.
Great.
Yeah.
It's always great to talk shop no matter what time of day. I'm always
absolutely.
And so Mike, we'll probably go 20, 25 minutes. And then when you hang up, I'll share with Paul how I first met you in Wake Forest in 2009, I think.
Wow.
I think that was 2009. And so I just still remember how, I don't know, you were just so nice. And I just got that vibe from you. I was like, man, this guy's awesome. This guy's awesome. So Paul has the first question for you, Mike.
All right.
And then we'll go, we'll just let it flow. We're really excited to have you. Kind of like starstruck, it's like seeing Bruce.
No, it's starstruck. Hey, we all in this for one reason, to learn and get better. So
100%. So Paul, I'll let you take it away, my man.
My first question off the record is, what's it like to have 70-degree weather and grass in South Carolina? I've got 20 inches of snow in the backyard.
Wow, how about this? I think if they're teasing us. They're just teasing us. I don't think we're going to stay 70 very long. I heard Friday's supposed to be back to 40 in miserable rain, but hey.
40.
All our spring sports have started, so I always tease those coaches. When it's 40 and rainy, I know it's softball season or baseball season, because that's the South.
Coach, I was reading some articles about you today, just, learning about you and what you've been through. And there was a great quote that I saw in there. It said, when the football coach brought you in because you were at St. Thomas University.
Mhm.
He knew that you had somebody there, and your quote was, "We had a great plan from the beginning, and we stuck to the plan." What was your plan when you first came in there and started working with that coach?
Well, what we started to build that program is Paul, we reached down and started working with our middle school kids. That was the whole key,
Mhm.
to just get them immersed in like basically like trying to build and form a culture. And so we decided we needed to get those young kids involved. And to this day, we still bring our middle school kids, we bus them over to the high school to start their training with, varsity sport coaches and then the strength staff. So that was the initial plan, and we stuck to it. There's some bumps in the road, but we had a plan that we were going to start these guys in 7th grade, and we were just going to train year round and be consistent and relentless, and that was the whole key to get things going.
Wow, 20 some years later, and that plan really did come to fruition. So,
Yes.
Zach, what do you got?
So I didn't realize, Mike, did you start at the middle school or were you at the high school? And like,
When I got to South Carolina, I came up without a job. I just knocked on the door of the high school and showed them a resume, and they saw something in that. And my first job was at actually an intermediate school. I was like the ISS teacher of 5th and 6th graders, and I would go over and help the middle school. I was a 7th grade coach in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a true story.
and what just kind of hit home to me was, so how long have you been at Burns High School? If I just back up
This
a minute.
is year, I believe, 23 years. So,
So it's 2021. So the late 90s. I've said it, like the late 90s, strength and conditioning was a word in the colleges. There wasn't like barely any private guys doing it. You had maybe Dwayne Carlisle, you
yeah.
had Mike Boyle. You
Yeah.
didn't have a lot of people doing that. And so my question, Mike, is, I'd say after I met you, '09, then '10, then certainly a few years,
Mhm.
the private sector exploded. Did any of your athletes at the high school start doing stuff at the private sector and then come back and say, Coach Srock, I squatted yesterday with Coach Collodi over at,
Mhm.
Burns Private Strength and Conditioning. Did that ever happen with you?
That did not happen in the beginning because honestly, we didn't have much of a development program. And as all of us know, I'm preaching to the choir with everybody listening to this, that you've got to develop your athletes. You have to devote the time and effort into that. And at the first year I was at Burns, I went to the head coach and said, look, I can help you. I said, we need to start working and developing these young athletes at an early age and carry this plan right straight through the high school. And you were right, there wasn't much going on. And I still see some of it, sometimes they'll take a $2,000 stipend and hack that between four sport coaches are supposed to be watching a weight room. There's no rhyme or reason to it. So once you put some consistency into it, man, that thing took off like a rocket for us, and it would take off for anybody.
But what about, coach, meaning like, so you have the strength and conditioning program in Burns High School, but then the private sector guys started opening up their own
Yeah.
speed.
Mhm.
Did any of your kids ever start kind of branching out and then
Oh, God.
half with you? How do you deal with that?
I take my kids to private sectors. We'll take a whole busload and go over somebody's facility and do like a little mini speed camp day or strength camp day. So yeah, anything that can help. We can't cover it in the high school sector. You cannot cover everything. So if somebody's good and they're specialized, I like to work with the private sector coach. Let's get the best out of this kid. So
What about a kid who says, let's say you're squatting
mhm.
on, today is Wednesday, and let's say you're squatting today, but a kid said, Coach, I was at, John Smith Private yesterday and I squatted. Then what do you do?
Well, you got to adjust. I mean, it would make no sense for me to be hard-headed and force the kid into a squat, no matter what kind of program I have planned. I have to have the ability to change on the fly. And then I would have to develop some coordination with the private sector and the kid and the family.
Yeah.
We run into that a lot at Burns. The expectations of our fans and parents are, man, every kid that's in the program should be going to Clemson. And they're not all going to Clemson. You're not going to Clemson if you're 5'6". You're not doing that. But the whole idea is just to bring out the best in the kids. And if they choose to do something privately, then I need to be smart enough to pick up the phone and say, hey, what are we doing, or how, and I learn a lot from private sector, because again, when I get a group, it may be 60 kids.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of advantage to having a kid work in a smaller group, in a more individual situation, more sports specific situation, especially some of the throwing sports.
Oh, yeah.
Your baseball or your overhead sports like volleyball. I mean, all those kids are going to clubs. And so if they're doing some outside stuff, I'd like to be part of that, at least part of the plan for that individual athlete. And what the plan is for that athlete can easily be adapted to the team setting. So yeah, anything that we can do to make the athlete better, hey, I'm all for that.
I love how open-minded you are. You were like that when I met you 12 years ago, 11 years ago. I mean, yeah.
I think you have to use every resource that's out there, so boy. So I don't think my way is the only way, or I'm not so hard-headed that I'm going to just, no, you got to do this on this. No, I want the best for the kids, and however way we can get that out of them, I'm all for that.
Nice.
Especially now, kids are starting to specialize so early.
Sure.
If they're doing club stuff year round, then we got to be smart and handle their physical development in conjunction with all the activity that they're going. If we don't do that, boy, it's going to be a disaster for the kid. He or she's probably going to end up hurt, overuse or something. So I think you got to be smart enough and adjustable enough to work together and do what's best for the athlete. I've never met anybody in the private sector that was the other way. No, that's my kid. He can't work out at Burns. Work together.
I think Paul and I had this conversation maybe a month ago. I've always felt a different aura and energy when I'm down south compared to this northeast area. It seems more like cutthroat up here. When I'm down there, it was so everybody's so together and respectful of the other person. It's different. I like that. I think a we approach is much better than a me approach.
Oh, no question about it. No question about it. And whatever it takes, really just
whatever it takes.
Yeah, whatever it takes for the athlete, especially the ones that are, like I said, the ones that are sports specific year round, like baseball or volleyball. We all got to work together. But a kid's going to burn out before he reaches the mature, before he really develops into the athlete that we're trying to get him to be.
Yep. Paul, what do you got, buddy?
Coach, I was reading through your resume a little bit, and Kabuki strength and stuff you've been done with USA weightlifting and East Coast Gold. And who were some of your big influences when you first started 23 years ago for your programming, for the stuff you're doing?
Oh gosh, I go back. I think back in the day, everybody was looking at the Nebraska guys. Mike Arthur in particular.
Yeah.
I think he was one of the leading forces. Everybody was copying what Nebraska was doing. Further down the road, Ethan Reed at Wake Forest, now at Chattanooga. Mike Gentry at Virginia Tech, a legend, was there like 30 some years. Yeah. People like that have been great examples and kind of follow their lead. Joe Kin with his tier system. I think at one point in time, all of us are using some type of tier system. Mm-hmm. So, there's all kind, and I've been smart enough to take from the best, so I take credit for none of it, but boy, my ears are always open, my eyes are open, and I'm going to learn something from every conversation, for every meeting, for every clinic. So just a bunch of people in the past.
Nice. Coach, I've seen the photos of your weight room, very large facility. And do sport coaches help you with each group, or are you the Lone Ranger running the show?
Well, I have a staff of 3. And what we like to do when we train sports teams specifically is we like to have those sport coaches come in there, and we encourage that. In fact, we want them in there. They're probably not going to be doing much in the way of coaching what we're doing on the floor or on the platform, but we want them there encouraging their kids, see who's in the weight room, take attendance, motivate a little bit. So we have a nice situation at Burns. I think all the sport administration, all the way on down through the sport coaches, believe in what we're doing for the athletes, and they support it, and it's a good team effort there.
Gotcha. I got one more quick question, Coach.
Sure.
So after Paul kind of mentioned your resume with Olympic lifting and all the different, was there ever a time where you were not implementing a certain style of training? Maybe you felt it was too complex for the athletes, or they weren't there. Were you ever like, you know what, we're not ready for cleans, or we're not ready for the barbell? Did you ever?
Right.
Sometimes I catch myself in these little areas, just kind of, when I'm sometimes like, well, I think I just got to go for it,
Well, I think, for, my background is Olympic lifting. So although, it's the most explosive, you guys know all about Olympic lifting, but what I do is, rather than try and force so much, how much technique can a teenager absorb? Or what's important for that sport. If it's force development or speed, man, we're going to put some Olympic stuff in there. Now, that being said, I may not teach the entire lift like a snatch. I think one of the most explosive athletic lifts there is. But again, how much time do I have with that team that I'm going to teach a snatch? But I will teach part of the progressions of learning the snatch, like a snatch balance, barbell on the shoulders, drop into a quick overhead squat. Boy, that's athletic and explosive enough for any high school team. So I do a lot of that. I'll pick and choose and just use pieces of. We do a lot of stuff with bands, a lot of dynamic stuff. So,
like what stuff with bands?
Oh, for shoulders, and then for the Olympic, with our, like, say, for instance, our 7th grade kids, when they first show up, the first lift they do is an overhead squat with a band. They stand on a band, and we teach them how to do an overhead squat.
That's got to be rough on them. Kids are not moving so good nowadays.
It's just, we spend a lot of development time, a lot of teaching time, but if you spend that time at the bottom, boy, by the time that kid hits his 9th grade year and 10th, we tell all the kids, by the time you're a sophomore in high school, you are expected to contribute to your varsity team because you've had all this time to develop.
I like that. Very cool. What do you got, Paul?
Well, 23 years, there's got to be some great stories that you've had in the weight room. What's one or two really great ones that you've had?
Oh, geez, I don't know what kind of audience you're dealing with.
Bring it on.
So many good ones. I'm an intense guy. My players will tell you they do great jobs of mimicking me, and it's really kind of fun, Paul, is to watch them come in as like 7th, 8th, 9th graders. I still have that element of fear in them. By the time they're juniors, they kind of have me figured out. By the time they're seniors, I start one of my tirades, I just see the eyes roll. All right, here he goes again. And they probably quote most of the lines, but I think one of the best stories is, like I said, I'm real intense in the weight room, no nonsense, blah, blah, blah. And I actually threw the head football coach out of the weight room in a session.
Why?
One of those days, and he was really being distracted. So I said, Coach, out, getting out of the weight room, man. The kids were absolutely, you could have heard it. They were like dumbfounded.
That's great. What was the coach? Why was he distracting? What was he doing?
Just how sometimes football coaches in there, they come in there, they're talking to the wide receiver, showing them plays and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the kids to squat, and they're talking to them about, practice that's coming up or whatever. But it was in the summer. I remember that. we take our time really seriously. We want to get a lot out of it, but that was quite funny. I didn't think he'd leave, but he left.
He left.
And we're still
That's
great friends. I'm not going to mention his name, but
right.
yeah, that was a good one. I kind of enjoyed that.
That's
awesome.
a good one. What about anything you've changed with coaching style or technique in a lift, or the way you teach, or even philosophy in these past 10 years since like 2010?
Yeah, I think the thing that has changed the most is how much you have to engage the kid. Like now, the old days of you're going to do this way because Coach Srock does it. That's long gone. And
Right.
you say the last 10 years, now the kids now, there's so much out there. And I tell them all the time, don't just do this stuff because I'm telling you to do it. I want you to understand why we do it, how we do it, when we do it. And I think that the kids are really gravitating to that. They understand a lot more about what we're trying to accomplish in their development and training than they did in the past. Years ago, they did it just because you told them to do it. Now they will question. I want them to ask questions, and I ask questions. What is this working? If we're doing this particular warm up, what area are we trying to reach? A hamstrings coach or hip flex or something. So I want that feedback, and I think it just the kids understand a lot more now. So part of that, when they understand that why you're doing it, how you're doing it, when you're doing it, that becomes part of the buy-in for the program. So I think that's the thing that changed the most.
Yeah, I agree. Paul?
I love the fact that you get the middle school kids involved. When they come in, what's your mentality with them? Is it a block zero or like a show?
I call walk and chew gum. We start out with basic skips, basic lunges, mainly with the seventh graders. We're just teaching them how to move. You would be, of course, you guys are in the business, so you're not shocked, but most people would be shocked if you lined up 57th graders on that sideline and told them to skip across the field. 40 of them wouldn't know how to skip. Yeah. That's a fact that that's the stuff we deal with now. So we develop those kids in stages, and we start out, it's all about moving. I wish it was just like the old days, just man, if I could get my offensive line, if we could all squat 600 pounds, man, we'd be unbeaten. But now you can have the guys can't squat 600 pounds, but if they can't take a zone step or they can't trap, you're not going to win any games at all. So, you need strength, but you have to bend and you have to move, and that's any sport. So
yeah, that is huge.
More so in football. God.
What are you, Mike, whenever you've presented, it's always been on movement and speed work. So maybe who did you train today? What teams did you train today at school?
Let's see. We're fortunate. We're in the second semester of our school year. At Burns, we're on the block schedule. We have 4 90-minute classes today. So today I had before school group is softball. They're in season now. They do have a sport class, but the coach opts to use her class time to practice. So the team comes in. They come in at 6:30 to 7:30, 3 days a week, and it's now that they're in season. Of course, it's softball, so we're doing like a lot of shoulder prehab, a lot of stuff with bands, a lot of movement now. I'm a big believer. I like the tsunami technology. In season, I think it's great stuff. The girls did tsunami squats today. They did lunge to step up, inverse curl machine, Louis West Side barbell invention. I think great posterior chain. Worked a lot on their lower body, and then the upper body was some little bit of push and pull, and then a lot of band work with the shoulders. First period, we had our bigs came in today, the offense and defensive line. Those guys are not. We got the word that we are going to have spring practice this year. So now this is really a pure strength base for those guys. I get those guys 4 mornings a week And then one morning, depending on the weather, they'll go outside or do character guidance or study hall or something like that. But the bigs did a push and a pull today. It was hang clean and bench, based on percentages.
Nice.
And, whatever the assistance work that we did in at the end. And then
What kind of,
I'm sorry.
oh, sorry, I'm like, what kind of reps were you doing on the cleans and the benches? Strength.
Most Olympic lifts, I stay between at the low end on the Olympic in the 50s and 60%. The 5 reps is once you get over 65, it's strictly threes. Because I found with high school kids, you can get 3 good reps. If you start to ask for 4, technique's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
They're going to start doing reverse curls instead of an extension,
Yeah.
So my explosive stuff is generally 3 reps. At the lower end of it could be 5. I like combos. I might do a hang clean front squat combo. I like that kind of combo.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good.
That's great.
Second period today, we had mixed girls, mostly volleyball. So again, they're off season, so we're working on their strength and movement, a little bit of flexibility. Our third block is a mixed bag of Olympic sports. We got lacrosse in there. We've got soccer in there. We got golf in there. So we just do some general. They're all in season now. In fact, I think 2 of those teams had scrimmages today or practice games today. So we kind of just took them through a movement, warmed them up real good, did some movement, some lunging, some step ups, a little bit of band work. And then fourth period, we had skill guys. So our bigs come out football wise, our bigs come in first hour and fourth hour is skill guys. Now I get them 3 days a week, and then the other 2, the coaches take them out. They're doing football stuff on most of the days. And then after school Wednesday we had the first group was female track, and then the second group was a mixed group of off-season sports. So it's a long day.
That's a long day. So it's 90 minutes. Do they have showers for them, or what do they?
Yeah. Well, it's crazy now. Kids don't take showers anymore. I mean,
That's right.
I mean, they go. So the class period is 90 minutes. So we give them time. By the time they get in there, and by the time they leave, we instead of 90, it's probably down to 70. You lose time on each end, but that's it for a high school athlete. If you got a good plan and you got the space like we do, you can get a lot done, especially now. Now the coaches, the sport coaches don't have to worry about any kind of development. They can focus on X's and O's when they get them out on the field. So
yeah, I used.
Pardon me?
I looked at your videos from presentations on YouTube, and I've been using all that during our warm-ups. And I think you're right that Mike, the hips, like if you can't get low, then the trap bar deadlift looks bad. The squat looks bad.
Everything is bad. If you can't bend, you can't play.
100%.
I tease them all the time. I say, as an athlete, you have to be able to bend your knees. If you're bending your waist, you're probably a tuba player in the band. There's nothing we do on Friday where you're bending your waist. Nothing.
Yeah.
You
need that.
Bend your knees, change your level. So we spend a lot of time with that stuff.
What do you do? What are some like go-to mobility drills, or maybe it's mobility that's kind of morphed into an exercise to help them get those hips to open up? Because most kids are not going to go home and do a 10-minute mobility hip sequence.
Yeah,
they're not going to do
nothing. No, they won't. So we kind of, like you say, we put a lot of that stuff into the warm-up. And then like really before squats, we'll activate the hips. We'll use like an NT loop. It's a heavier duty band, and we'll do monster walks, hook it to the squat rack and do monster walks forward and bring it back, activate the, hips, glute, hamstrings, lunging, step ups, things like that. We do before a big lift. So I tell the kids all the time, we're going to spend more time getting you ready to squat than we actually squat.
Yeah, the kids are. The tough thing is, I like to be real transparent. There's times where kids should not have a bar on their back, but God forbid 5 of them go with a goblet squat. They think like you're the devil for doing that to them.
Yeah.
And so they want to just go to that bar, but deep down it's like, listen, this dumbbell squat It's going to help you keep your posture and torso upright. We're going to be able to get some ankle mobility, hip mobility. No, coach.
Oh yeah, they all want those big weights on their back.
Yeah. So
But,
what do you do? How
to
do you
me,
talk to a kid? in that
I'd rather front squat than back squat.
Me too.
You know, we don't, I'm on the verge of almost wanting to test that because we'll do front squat, we'll do a back squat maybe once every third leg workout. Other times it's going to be some type of a lunge, loaded lunge, something overhead maybe, you know, something on the back, a lunge to a step up, a double lunge, reverse lunge to a forward. But we're going to do some type of movement, you know, two or three squat workouts. And I love the front squat. I think, man, it's easier to teach. Kids going to use a whole lot less weight. And man, that's exactly what we want is, you know, a better squat posture. You know, you're upright, get your belly between your knees. I mean, great for the hips, a little bit wider stance. I think it's more athletic.
This conversation
Athletic lift.
just pushes me that, like, in this next training cycle, I'm going to get the guys front squatting. At my private gym, we front squat in the warm up every workout, even just an empty bar. And I said to Paul, I was like, man, if you put a gun to my head and said back squat or front squat, I'm also leaning to the front squat because it's pretty rare that they're going to squat high. Maybe, you know, they're going to, but they're just not as likely to. It just looks better too. It looks better.
Well, what I found with the front squat is as they get really strong in it, the technique is the same. You take the back squat and you start to add weight. What's the first thing that deviates? That you get that line where the kid might be great at 350, you go to 370 or 360, the technique starts to fall apart.
And then
all of a sudden, you're strong enough to do that with good technique. But I don't see that. Like, I don't see that in the front squat.
Right. Go ahead, Paul.
We just had this conversation last night with a couple of guys talking about lat engagement when the core is failing and how the elbows will drop and how we can just see the core failing in the front squat as their elbows come down.
Yeah.
You know, because lat activation, you know, is so great when the core starts to fail. And you see the kids start to understand and nod their head and go, all right, now I know why we're doing this. And, you know, that's, we're three, you know, right for the front squat. I'm all with it.
You know, you don't like to coach failure, but I think the front squat is a whole lot safer. If the kid's not going to make it, I mean, it's a whole lot easier to bail in a front squat than it is your spotter's not paying attention or whatever, and the bar ends up rolling over your head. We've all seen that horror story. So
it's like a bad YouTube video.
I like front squat. You know, I know Ethan Reeve up at Chattanooga was at Wake Forest for a long time. He's a big front squat guy. In fact, I think he has been front squatting, testing his kids for a long time. Ethan has. So.
Yep.
Coach, I know Zach wants to ask, but if you have trouble with the range of motion with their fingers, do you allow straps or crossover when you're doing that?
I would rather use the straps than the crossover. But again, you know, we spend a lot of time on getting under the finger. When you look at it, all you need is one or two fingers on the bar. You know,
I start with two fingers.
You know, iron grip, just going to roll up under. Now, that being said, I think when you front squat, that it looks great if you got your elbows up nice and high, but as long as they're not pointed to the floor, you should be able to hold that rack position on your shoulder. You know, so if the kid really struggles, we do straps, and in some cases in the learning phases with the younger kids, it's a lot easier to teach them just across. So whatever it takes to get them to bend. So,
all right, whatever it takes. Mike, if, you know, like I mentioned earlier, when I've seen you speak, it's a lot of the speed. You know, what would you say you're retiring this end of the school year? If you were in front of a group of coaches, would there be any certain like lessons you'd want to, you know, share with them, wisdom you really want to impart on them in this high school sector?
In any structure, man, I'm big on this. You know, I've been doing this a long time and relished every second of it, but I missed too much of my own family. Okay, so I tell all the young coaches, we have the greatest profession in the world, but you have to spend, your faith is number one, your family's number two, then the job is number three. And you've got, all of us have a hard time in the beginning putting that in perspective. It takes a long time. I always tell a story. I never took a vacation for a long time. I thought, oh man, if I leave, Burns is going to fall apart. So my wife finally talked me into a vacation. I made all these plans, did all this work. It was so hard to go on vacation because I had to get everything had to be perfectly set. Are you sure you know what you're doing? I'm driving these guys nuts, calling them, checking on them. When I got back, half the kids didn't even know I was gone. I was waiting for this big hero's welcome. Oh, coach, we missed you. Where were you? What is going on? Half of them didn't even know I was gone. So it was a tough lesson to learn. So I passed that on. You got to take time. You got to take time.
That's awesome.
You know, and
Very good.
business, I think, especially now, it's got to be speed first. If you're not a speed guy, you got to become a speed guy. You got to be able to, in part, obviously we know that you want to get faster, get stronger. Okay, that's strength is always going to be a big part. I think you have to get out of your comfort zone and do some things, especially with speed or some of the tsunami stuff, all the stuff that's out there. I think get out of your zone, learn and keep learning. I learn something every day. I try to. So that's my advice.
Very good. When you say you got to be a speed guy, what do you mean if we dig a little deeper into?
I think you have to do something to enhance speed. You can do something to enhance speed with every workout, whether it's just something as part of your warm up. Like we'll go from a dynamic warm up and we morph right into some bounding patterns.
Yes.
Great speed. Bounding is great speed. In the weight room, if we're doing a squat, we may do my version of a contrast. Like the kid may do a squat and then he may turn around on the plyo box, and we call it running a 40. He may just run 18 steps as fast as he can on a box. Does two things. It reinforces some of the running technique and it keeps the kids engaged. And it puts it in their mind that everything we do is to get you faster.
Yeah. I'm some people don't think like in high school, you talk about they squat, then they might run the 40. And then they might do an ab or a band exercises. I think people who are not in our shoes, boots on the ground, they don't realize that these kids could get distracted. Then they'll come back to the squat and then they'll say, how many reps am I doing? What?
Yep.
They lose focus. And so we're not trying to just keep them busy. We're doing intentional things, but a part of it is if they're not busy, a lot of them lose focus. They don't have the discipline to, you read an Olympic weightlifting book and it talks about, okay, if you train over 90%, rest 8 minutes. You tell a high school kid to sit there for 8 minutes and focus.
Yeah, bingo.
Yeah,
bingo.
that ain't happening.
And the same thing with sport coaches. What don't they want to see? They don't want to see kids sitting there standing around. They think they should be doing something between every set and rep. So doing something like a contrast to a strength move, it keeps the kid inactive, keeps that third guy inactive. So he's not at the drinking fountain or over at the next group pinching somebody or doing something, They're all the same. High school kids are all the same, whether
That's
they're
right.
in Jersey, Florida, or South Carolina.
That is
we
right.
love 'em.
Yes. So, Coach Srock, thank you so much. Been awesome to have you on as a guest for our podcast. We're powered by the NHS SCA. You're a member, and we really try to encourage all coaches who are in the weight room because, I think down by you and Texas, maybe Georgia, we have a lot of qualified strength coaches in the high school sector, but in many other states, it's still the soccer coach, the football coach.
Yep.
So, we encourage them to become a member so they could learn how to essentially be a strength coach. You're not a full-time, but you're going to learn to do it the right way.
Yeah, I encourage it. We encourage that so much. In our state, we have a high school strength coaches association. And what we did as an association this year we are going to pay for the National High School Coaches Association. We're going to pay for 5 memberships.
Wow.
Guys are going to submit what they think they would get out of a membership in a national organization. So we're going to pick 5 guys, pay their membership, and
Awesome.
spread the word that way. I'm big on coaches education. You've got to get yourself educated. I mean, just go out there and learn and look at things. And you'll come away with something, I promise you.
Coach, do you have a favorite book? You know, I read old stuff. I've got, Strongest Shall Survive with Bill Starr. I read all the old Iron Man magazines, which had Olympic lifting in them. What are some of your
here's going way back. I have issues of Milo magazine.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys remember Milo, but they had some great, power building stuff in there. But I mean, like Mike Gentry has books, is awesome.
Yeah.
George Dinteman, with the National Association of Speed and Explosion, has a whole series of books.
What's his name? George who?
George Dinteman. Look at his sports speed stuff. Yeah,
What's his website?
It's NASE Inc.Earthlink, I think.
Oh, that's old. Earthlink.
Yeah.
Where's he located?
He's out of the Barrier Islands in North Carolina. Okay. And George with Bob Ward was one of the first guys that started using speed work in the NFL. So he tells some great stories, but he is our president, executive officer of an organization called National Association for Speed and Explosion.
Wow.
It's it's all they deal with is article. There's 4 newsletters come out a year, everything involved. There's certification involved. In fact, we just redid the book, Essentials of Sports Speed, as a new edition out.
I remember you mentioning this. Okay, so I'm going to look that up. And for all of our friends listening and watching, we recommend they Google it versus we hand you the stuff. Go research.
Go research it. Yeah, there's Google makes things easy, but they'll still never replace a good strength coach.
George Dinteman.
Yeah, Dr. George Dinteman. I'll when I get to school tomorrow, I'll email you all his contact stuff.
Thanks.
Awesome. We'll bother him heavily then.
Oh yeah, he is the speed guy. He's the guy.
That's great.
I just gave away a secret. I want you to know that I just gave away my secret.
I know, but it's okay because you're retiring. So
I told you I always share.
Yes.
We all got secrets.
Yep. Now you relinquish some of the secrets. Okay. So you mentioned some books. You mentioned Milo. So Dr. George Dinteman, National Association of Speed and Explosion.
For Speed and Explosion. Yep.
Wow, very cool. And then any other books in general or
Mike
movies?
Mike Gentry.
Mike Gentry's book.
Virginia Tech legend. I think he retired, and I believe that he's back in the game now at Emory and Henry. I heard that.
He took a new position at either a D2 or D3 school. And Mike, I have it was given to me on VHS a little bit before we met. I believe Dr. Ken Leisner went to work with Mike Gentry a little bit. And did you see the video? He's training the guys. They're pushing the car. They're doing the farmer walks. They're running the stairs with weight vests on. Did you see that video?
I did not. That sounds like Doc Ken, doesn't it?
I'll send it to you. It's so good. It was gifted to me, by one of the, a student of the high intensity training. I think I missed a year when Dr. Ken spoke at the North Carolina State Strength Coaches Clinic. Were you there?
We had him at Burns speak to the team.
Did you record it?
The legend. Oh yeah, he had him rocking and rolling.
Did you record the?
Yes, we again met him at the Wake Forest Clinic.
Yes.
Back when we just kept up, like coaches do. We just built a relationship, and we'd get him down to South Carolina every once in a while. I was fortunate enough to let him come in and speak to the team. And
oh my goodness, did you record that, Mike, or no?
We did not. He said, "This is just for the team. This is for you." He was not.
He wasn't into all that stuff.
He was less technical than me, I think. I don't know if that's possible, but
he Coach Reeve told me when he gave the presentation, he did like I forget what it's called. When I was like, you remove the slide, it was like a clear thing. It was like an overhead thing. And it
Oh,
projected.
yeah.
Oh, overhead projector.
It was an overhead projector.
Overhead, yeah.
It was like slides. Yeah.
Sounds
What a
like
guy.
Donnie Thompson.
Super D. Yeah. What a great guy. Have you ever visited with Donnie Thompson, Super D?
Yeah, Super D has a facility in Columbia. Haven't been there in a while, but yeah.
He doesn't have it anymore. He's out of his backyard only.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Out of his backyard. And he does
I
a
know
lot
he
of
had the compound for a while. That was
Yeah,
it.
that's where I had visited. He does all the body tempering. So he
Yes.
will do just some seminars
Yeah.
like that. But Mike, we don't want to keep you.
Yeah, you're into my bedtime now. It's after
I'm
8.
sorry.
Come on.
But Mike, I'll hopefully I'll give you a holler. Maybe I'll see you when I visit those Kiwa Islands I was telling you about.
Yeah, please do that, and let's have our fingers crossed for summer.
Yes.
Haven't heard
Yes.
one way or another. Yeah, got them crossed, so we all can get together. And
Nice.
the door is always open for you guys. Anybody, come on down.
You're the
I'm taking
best.
you up. We're coming down to Greenville. We're coming down to Greenville soon, so I'll find a way to
Oh
find you.
my gosh, downtown Greenville, our school is 20 minutes.
All right, good barbecue.
Come in. You got to stop in.
You're the
Love to
best,
have-
Coach.
Show you around and be good.
Thank
Coach,
you, Coach.
you're the best. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Mike. Talk to you soon, buddy. Bye.
All right. Bye now.
Bye. All right, Mike, you could hang up, buddy, because Paul and I are going to keep going, and I'm going to send you an email this week.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Talk to you soon, Coach.
See you, buddy. Hold on. I think I could. Let's see.
I'm clicking. There we go.
All right. See you, Mike.
Take care.
Bye.
There we go.
Okay. Nice. Wow, Mike's what a great guy.
That was a joy. That was awesome.
I know, it's hard to keep these short. We said that we'd like to keep them short. Mike's, I'm going to recommend people go on YouTube. Mike's got a few presentations that were recorded. He's always presenting on speed and movement. And I got to tell you, with COVID, Paul was like making these 30-minute workouts in the weight room. My warm-ups, I wasn't doing the movement stuff. It was like, you're going to do 10 squats, 10 lunges, 10 push-ups, 10 pull-aparts. But I wasn't doing, all the frog jumps, the walking reverse lunges, lateral lunges, all those things that got their hips low, hang out because I'm on the clock.
Mhm.
And I got to tell you, we back squatted last week, and I was disappointed in myself. I was like, man, some of those squats just looked like crap. And yesterday I had an hour with the football team. I was like, man, I'm going 20 minutes of this warm up that morphs into the speed and the jump training, and everything just looked 100 times better. And I got to tell you, the kids were crushed. And I said, I knew it was going to happen. I said, because you guys didn't train legs, you're allergic to training legs during the whole COVID. And I go, truth be told, when you guys do squat, you squat halfway down. And I said, listen, if I drive halfway to work, did I get to work? No, coach. Well, if you squat halfway down, you did not squat. So you can't, that's not a 500-pound squat. And then kid today was, he's growing, his ankles are tight. He's struggling on a trap bar deadlift. He's like, man, I have trouble getting my hips down. I go, listen, don't worry about what you deadlift. I go, when you score a touchdown, does the referee run up and say, whoa, how much you deadlift, man? They don't care. That's it. You're scoring. It's about how we move. So I'm hammering that home big time. And so tomorrow I'm going arm farm with the football team. And then next week, that's it. Front squats are in.
I got to shout out some of my guys saying today was an off day for football, and we had that blizzard on Monday, so we missed Monday.
Getting crushed.
And it was probably 4:00, I get a text from one of our rising seniors. Hey, coach, can we come in and get a little bit today because we missed Monday? I'm like, yeah, 5:30 is open. I was going to leave at 5:30,
Yeah.
but about 8 of them came in, and we just did that thing movement. We did some tumbling. We did bear crawls to a right shoulder roll, bear crawls to a left shoulder roll. Jumps, stuff like that. They're having fun.
Yeah.
We did cartwheels. Our football coach was in there. He's trying to do cartwheels. It was just awesome. It was a good day, and those are the days you remember, and you hope the kids remember too. Like we're talking about stories, but we got our mobility in, we got our speed in. We're gonna have a good deadlift day tomorrow. We had a great squat day yesterday, and Friday we're gonna get at it. Our bench a little bit, and then Saturday we're gonna do. We don't do it every Saturday, but Saturday morning, 7 a.m., we're gonna do a grit day. They're gonna come in, and we're gonna do a hard work day, and I can't wait. I'm glad the snow's over.
You get hammered by snow. By me, we got a little bit of snow, like flurries. Today's 55. The snow melted. I don't know what the temperature is by you. It's different. You're in another world up. You're an hour from me, Paul.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It started at 11 o'clock. By 3 o'clock, we had 6 inches of snow. It was crazy.
People don't realize how different it is for somebody. I think living by the beach, the water changes, the ocean changes, does something. And then my high school, it's like in a valley. And so we have tons of snow at my high school because it's like encased in like a woods area. It's called the swamp. So, it's pretty wild. What else was I going to say? I met Mike in 2009 at the North Carolina State Strength Coach Clinic. He was with Coach McKenna. Coach Reeve invited me down to speak. I spoke with Donnie Thompson and Istvan Yavarek, who's, the guy who created the barbell complexes.
Yeah,
And, if you look at Coach Yavorek's old YouTube videos, he trained athletes at a community college. He would do all kinds of jump training up. He had on the side of a school a rubber. You know how like playgrounds have that rubber floor?
Yeah.
He had a hill made out of rubber. Then he also had large stairs made out of rubber. So they'd go up the stairs, 2 legs, 1 leg. I mean, just working them with all these bounding and power hops. And so that's on my mind a lot is, you might be able to trap bar deadlift 495, but if you're slow, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I was listening to Just Fly Sports podcast with Joel Smith and Bobby Stroop. Bobby is out in Texas, and I don't follow the NFL enough, but he trains the quarterback who is for the Chiefs. And Bobby's big on speed and movement. And I think he heard this from Dan Paff, but he said something to this effect. He goes, you could have a racehorse or like a trudge horse, like a horse that's like a towing horse. He goes, if the racehorse needs 3 or 4 days to be like a towing horse, it could do it. But if the tow horse has to become a racehorse, it can't get fast. Speed makes you stronger. And Jim Wendler's been saying, he goes, we don't actually lift that heavy. He goes, but we're strong because we're never moving the weight slow. He doesn't really go beyond 85%. And, I'm trying to really hammer to my kids is like, when I watch you bench, I don't want to see these grinding slow reps that take you 10 days to finish it. And so that's why, when I tell people coaching at the high school is extremely challenging. You have large numbers. We don't have a lot of equipment. We don't have the best equipment. We have one coach often. I don't have any assistants. I'd like to see my sport coaches start coming in more so the kids start being a little bit afraid of not showing up, because what happens, let's say, it's voluntary for you, right, Paul? So let's say a football player doesn't show up all year. Is there a repercussion for that?
Nope, none.
No.
And the worst thing is you get your guys who are players, the guys who know that they're going to be a player. There's nobody behind them, so they can choose to do whatever they want to do.
That's right. No threat.
And our coach says it all the time. It's getting really easy to put on our Red Devil jersey because kids understand that, and they're not working for it.
There's no
And
threat.
yeah, and whether they're going to their own guy or doing whatever they are, you and I say it all the time, is that there's got to be that if they're going to their own guy, what's the benefit of that versus being with their team, getting the same lifts in, same intensity, but now maybe being held accountable by their teammate or holding their teammates accountable. I think those are two.
I told the guys, oh man, trying to find this. I told the guys that I'm done calling out anybody. Now I say
Yeah.
this year you got a long leash with me because you're showing up to train at 12, 1, 2. I don't know if your mom or dad is leaving work from home. They're in the middle of a conference call. You're late. It may not be because you're late. It might be because your mom and dad had to
Yeah.
leave work in the middle. But what I'm trying to get away from is, Mike is super flexible. I found that in being so flexible, I wasn't helping anybody. Oh, you did this and that with your private guy. I'll work around you. Da, 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 da. And I was like, man, I got 40 kids, 20 kids, whatever the numbers are. When it's not COVID, we're going to have 70 kids.
Mhm.
I can't do a lot of special stuff for you. I'm a private sector guy. If I have 6 people, I could do special stuff with everybody.
Yeah.
That I feel the private sector guy, I would love to see that guy be a little more outreach and say, hey, how can I help? So like this Saturday, I got a local football coach coming, which I'm really excited about. And I haven't had a football coach come and want to learn in a gazillion years. I mean, I can't tell you. And you want to know what? I'm not going to mention the team, but they're state champs. They're a very high level team where like if you don't get bumped up, meaning if you're a freshman, you're playing on freshmen because JV is stacked, varsity is stacked. They're deep, right? And so this guy, when they don't show up, there is a repercussion. And I think that's as much as we want to run the weight room, we are the expert. There is a benefit to the sport coach running the weight room because he or she can always see their kids and say, hey, I haven't seen you for 3 weeks.
Mhm.
And now we got a problem, man. And I remember I was going for a job interview in Mike's school district, I don't know, 6 years ago,
Mhm.
at a high school in Spartanburg County. And that football coach, Mike said, it's like faith, family, work. That guy said to me, he's like, you could call me anytime. I'm either at church or at football practice. And he said, I take this training serious with these guys. He go, if they miss a workout during the week, they don't play on Friday.
Wow.
And he's like, was very excited. He's like, we need a guy like you here. He's like, this will elevate our program. We need you. They were so like about it. And I do think down south, maybe just, the Southern hospitality is more of a together type ambiance. North Jersey, in New Jersey, it's a lot of cutthroat life. It's just the
Yeah.
way of the tri-state area, this hustle bustle mentality. That's the way it is.
Yeah. How about it? I mean, he has 3 assistants where we were talking, we have some schools saying they can't afford 1. And he's got not only him, but 3 assistants. And every class he has, block schedule, has only athletes in it. Try to do that up here. That would be, people would be saying, well, yeah, how come my kid can't be in that class? Well, these are the athlete classes. These are the strength coaches that are taking them through. Kind of like Coach Vanderbush does. He'll tell you straight out. If you're an athlete at Ben Davis, you'll take his phys ed class. If you're not, you're going to take a different phys ed class. It's
And
just
I
the way
think
it is.
Kevin has the weight room divided into the equipment.
Yeah, upper and lower. Yeah.
So I'll be honest, my concern is, so we have what's called advisory. So every sophomores, juniors, and seniors have like a free block. It's like their own study hall, or they could go to the weight room. We're not doing it this year because of all the COVID stuff and everybody being so, like a clean freak. I don't know if they'll have it next year, but my concern is, what's going to happen when just a student, all they want to do is like curl and bench, and then they don't put equipment away. it is a lot of extra work for you
Mhm.
to go in and like, where's the clamp for this? They took it. Why is the 5-pound plate here? He took it from the other end of the gym. That's why, like they do those things. And yeah, athletes optimally need to be together. We don't have
Yeah.
optimal situations.
Mhm.
We got to make the best of it. That's it.
Absolutely.
This was a great episode, Paul. As always, my man. NHSSCA.us. If you're not a member, become a
Get on it.
member. Get your education, like Mike said. You should be researching and trying to educate yourself. And not only that, just the camaraderie of our group is so powerful. Paul, when did I don't recall the email date exactly, but Kevin O'Neill mentioned when kind of the our leadership kind of came up with like a date that we might start considering live events. It was like no earlier than maybe Memorial Day. I can't recall.
Yeah,
something
it
like
was
that.
May. It was somewhere around May.
Right.
So-
So basically till June, like past
Yeah.
Memorial Day.
Mhm.
So we got some time before we do a family day or so we could do I guess a little gathering if we wanted to, but we'll probably, springtime, try to make something happen. And I think our next guest, we want to start bringing on our advisory board.
That'd be
We
good.
we already had Coach McKenna. We're gonna get John Torrey at Princeton, and
Mhm.
Mark Rosamilia we're in the same school district. He's on the north end of town. Yeah. So we got to start getting those guys on here, how they're doing. John has been training outside, no weight room. Pretty
I
wild.
saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. He's like Rambo out there. We forgot to ask Coach Srock favorite movie.
Movie.
Ah,
I was so enthralled. I was just into listening to what he had to say
God.
at the end. But
We're going to get a negative review. Somebody's going to drop a 1-star.
no.
They're going to
I
do
asked
it.
him about his food. I'm gonna do barbecue when I go down
You
there.
didn't do the food. And I was in that downtown area because when that job was being offered to me, I was with my family. We drove
Mhm.
through. That downtown area is nice.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, that's a nice area. Man, we blew it. We didn't get the movie. We didn't get the food. I mean, who cares about these front squat crap? Oh,
We can always
man.
get better. We can always get better, Zach.
We got to get better. All right, my bro, 9:00. I got to walk my crazy dog. I got to make lunch for the kids. Tomorrow's Thursday. I got the arm farm coming with the football guys. The girls have been crushing it. We
I
had
see. Yeah,
two girls squatted 135 for 5 deep
Nice.
squats.
nice.
They're amazing. I email a few of them. I tell them to invite other friends and teammates, and then they do it.
Yeah,
The sports stuff has been so tough. Our girls basketball team went to a school. That gymnasium was leaking water. They had to come back. They thought they fixed it. They went back the next day again. It's been this year. We got to keep these kids hanging tough. And I am being tough on them, but I'm also, when I'm tough on them at the end, I say, look, I'm tough on you because I love you. All
Yeah.
right. That's why I want you to succeed. So don't get upset when I'm coaching you hard. And that's it, man. Look, I coach my son's 12. He'll come to my gym. If he messes around, I'm pretty rough on him.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like busting him up a little bit. All right. Got to do it before they get stronger than us,
that's right.
That's right. Paul, you're the man. Until next time, my bro, NHSSCA.us. Reach out to us, guys, if you're in New Jersey, and join the Facebook group. And then, of course, become a member. We'll see everybody soon. Paul, I'm shutting it down. Talk to you
Yes, sir.
later, buddy. Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.